Hi everybody, my name is Barry Schwartz and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, December 28th, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable, seroundtable.com over the past week. First up, it looks like it was pretty much a slow week. So obviously we had the holidays, happy holidays to everybody, and New Year's coming up Tuesday. So it's pretty much dead this week, but I try to find things to cover. So here you go. Google says searchers can tell the difference between organic and search ads. Organic free listings and search ads. So Paul Harr, one of the senior old Google engineers who's been at Google for, I think, probably over 15 years, something like that. He said, basically, when somebody quoted an article saying that most searchers cannot tell the difference between organic free listings and paid search ads, that key point, but not true from everything I've seen, at least from the search side, that is not true. So that's very interesting to see from him. John Mueller said, we use the most restrictive form when it comes to crawling the internet. So if there's a signal that says do not crawl and there's another signal that says do crawl, Google will go with the most restrictive version, which is the do not crawl. Again, that should be common sense to many people, but people sometimes don't notice. They'll have JavaScript that renders after the fact, and they might not see it, and they might render and say do not crawl, and thus there's confusion about why Google's not crawling a specific page. Google can get your canonicals wrong. Basically, John Mueller said that sometimes when you see the duplicate submitted URL not selected as canonical error in Google Search Console, it could be that the problem is that two pages are not duplicates, and Google selected the canonical that does not match the user's selected signal. And John Mueller basically said that sometimes when they run across a number of URL parameters, lots of complex URLs, that Google may go ahead and say they're confused and then go ahead and say, all right, they might get the canonicals wrong. And this comes up, he said, often when there's like URLs that are leading to content that's substantially the same content. And in that case, Google will confuse the content as being duplicate and get the canonicals wrong and try to figure out what the canonicals should be. It doesn't happen that often, but if your URLs are pretty much the same and your content on those pages are pretty much the same, Google might go ahead and try to be fancy and get that kind of merge that information into one. Google said that for images to be indexed, that both the image has to be available to be crawled as well as the associated page that it's embedded on. So here's an image on this page. If this page is not crawlable, Google will not index that image. If I tell Google not to crawl this page, Google, and this is the only source of this image, Google will not go ahead and index that image and not show it in Google image search in due time. Google says we don't skip indexing content that is oversaturated. So if somebody writes a topic about title tags and there's literally thousands of web pages talking about how title tags work on the internet, Google's not going to say, oh, this new piece of content about title tags that this person wrote yesterday, we're not going to index it because we already have thousands and thousands of pages about title tags. It might not rank well, but Google will still index and crawl that page if the signals point to it. Google says they don't look at things like max age values when it comes to JavaScript and CSS files when it comes to Google crawling or around Google search. They said we don't look at that. We don't generally use the max age value for crawling and indexing when it comes to search, so keep that in mind. I believe that type of value is used specifically for caching techniques. Google said that we know Bing supports it, but Google also confirmed that Google supports the Etag if none matched thing, which basically is similar to using the if modified since. And most people use if modified since, but Google does support, according to John Mueller. Last time I looked, we supported that, he said, the Etag if none match value. Google said sometimes when it's hard to understand URL structures that all point to similar, looks like pointing to similar pages, Google will drop those pages from the index. There's a case of a person complaining that 50,000 URLs from their e-commerce site had been removed from Google's index. John Mueller chimed in and basically said, I've seen that happen when a site has a hard to understand URL structure with many URLs leading to the same content, making our systems assume that a part of the URL is irrelevant. So keep that in mind. One thing from the congressional hearing or testimony where Google sat, Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google sat, he said one thing that was interesting to me, that Google has thousands, he said, over 1,000 or thousands of people working at Google on specifically core search. I'm not sure if that means search quality, search ranking, snippets, indexing, crawling, UI stuff. I'm not sure how broad core search in his mind is, but that's what he said. It was a very, very quick snippet. I don't know if you ever heard how many people actually work on core search specifically at Google, and Pichai said thousands do. Google's John Mueller again helping webmasters on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. He posted at least six threads and numerous times on Twitter, and he's been doing this for over 12 years on Christmas Eve as well as New Year's. So thank you, John Mueller, for everything you do. And of course, it was the holidays, so all the different holiday logos were up on Christmas Day, from Google's logo to Bing's homepage, which you can interact with. Yahoo had a logo, Baidu, Sagui, and Search and Roundtable had our own logos as well. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. Again, my name is Barry Schwartz, wishing everybody happy holidays and a successful new year, healthy and happy new year. Everyone have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next. Again, today is Friday, December 28th. See you guys next week. Bye.